Aha, there he is. If you watched the vlog last night, you will have seen that Mark had his haircut. We didn't reveal what it looked like, so here it is.
So if you're listening on iTunes, you don't know what the bloody hell we're talking about.
We've got a YouTube channel where we vlog on there and we show these podcasts. So we sometimes have a bit of a crossover, and today is one of those days when we have a crossover.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've just realised something.
What?
I don't know what the podcast is about today.
No. I don't know if you remember.
It.
Well, I don't know if you remember on Instagram about a week ago. We asked people. We did a little Insta story where we were talking about jealousy.
Oh right. Okay.
Lots and lots of people had a very positive. When I say positive, it was a positive negative response, if you know what I mean, to our first podcast on jealousy and the ways in which our relationship survived and didn't survive at times under the pressure of my jealousy. And then off the back of it, I've always felt, and it's often been said in the comments beneath a lot of our relationship podcasts, that, you know, could we do jealousy again, or could we go back to it? I mean, it's such an enormous subject that, you know, to feel that just 30 minutes about it is enough, isn't
I think it's something one could revisit over and over again.
Well, it's almost the define. I mean, I'd go so far as to say that, you know, if many couples probably go into therapy for repeated sessions about all sorts of stuff, and it probably all emanates from jealousy issues.
And the thing is, it's not just sexual jealousy.
No.
It can just be jealousy about anything.
Well, it can be.
I mean, there's lots of things I don't know if jealous is the right word, but
well,
that I yearn for.
But before we get into that, I think you're right. I think a lot of people, I think jealousy in relationships can manifest in so many different ways. I mean, obviously there's sexual jealousy, there's historic jealousy, there's flirtatious jealousy, but then there's
historic jealousy.
Well, jealous of your past. Jealous of things
historic
that you've done.
sexual jealousy.
Well, that's exactly what I just said.
No,
Historic
you said
jealousy.
sexual jealousy.
I didn't. I said historic jealousy.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
And then you get things like, which I've noticed comes up a lot, where couples can be jealous of the relationships each other have with other members of the family. So it could be jealous of siblings. It could be jealous of children, your relationship with your children. You know, you've talked how you're sometimes jealous of how I am. Not jealous, but you know, you can see how that would manifest itself as jealous, that you feel that you have a particular relationship with someone in the family that someone else doesn't.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we both just said, I can be jealous. And we go, well, not jealous. It's like, what is the definition of jealousy?
Well, no, but this is the weird thing.
Because it is weird. Nobody ever wants to say, oh, I'm jealous about something. Because it's such an, I mean, it's just such an awful thing, jealousy. I mean...
Well, I disagree. I think we have a relationship, and this is where it's going to get interesting. We invited all of our followers on Instagram to share their thoughts on jealousy, and to share their thoughts specifically on a very specific question. Is there ever an instance when, I'm sure you'll have lent out a shot by sitting like that.
I'm in the shop.
Is there ever an instance when a little bit of jealousy or a lot of jealousy is appropriate? Or, you know, is there ever a situation when it's fine or right, or sometimes maybe a good thing to be jealous? But just going back to what you just said then, as I said the word jealousy, it's weird. I only corrected myself in terms of saying you were jealous of something. There's a sort of received wisdom in our relationship where you just don't and aren't jealous, and we all just plod around sort of accepting that that's the case. Whereas I accept that I'm a jealous person. I accept that I'm also a competitive person. So professionally...
I think the two often go hand in hand.
Well, I think the two do go hand in hand, and I think if you know all those people professionally that you know who are very ambitious or competitive, you know, I think what feeds a bit of competitiveness is the idea of jealous of what other people can achieve, and you want to achieve better for yourself, or you want to do it yourself, or you want to get it yourself, or you know, you can be jealous of someone else's accomplishments because it's something you'd like for yourself. And I do think it can be used as a spur to action. That's in a professional field. But there is an assumption between the two of us that it's like, I feel sometimes like I'm not even allowed to suggest that your behaviour could in any way be seen as jealous, because you just don't do jealousy, and it's received wisdom that NADIA Sawalha-Adderleys just doesn't do jealousy.
What are you talking about? In what sense?
In any sense.
No,
because even as I said just then, jealous of maybe what I have with the kids, I started to get a little bit eggshelly saying it, because I was thinking, oh God, she's going to flip. Not in a horrible way, but she'll flip about this idea because you just don't do jealousy.
Can we get up the definition of jealousy? I always get confused between jealousy and envy. You see, for me, I always thought it was better to say, oh, I really envy that. Because envy is something like, oh, I love that, but it's not something I can have. And I think I've got my definitions mixed up. Jealousy is you see, jealousy has the connotations to me that you don't want the other person to have it, and you want it for yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not true. So I never don't want somebody to have what they've got because I want it. I might love that they've got it and also want it outside of sexual jealousy. So I think I do get confused with the actual definition of it. What is the definition?
Well, a really unimaginative definition in this online dictionary, which is shit, is the state or feeling of being jealous. Doesn't really help us, does it? Definition of jealous. Let's look that up, shall we? Feeling or showing an envious resentment of someone of their achievements, possessions, or perceived advantages.
That's why I always pull myself back from saying it.
But it's not like envy, otherwise you'd use the word envy.
Right, what's the definition of envy then? Because I think whenever I've said envious in the past, people say, "Well, envious," and a feeling
of discontent or longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. You see, I feel envy is something about possession and objects, and I feel jealousy can be about those things, but it's more generally about an emotional state or emotions or attention.
So when I envy somebody's sofa, for instance, there's not the right word really, because I don't have resentment for that person for having it. I just want it too.
No.
So when we talk about whether I'm jealous or envious or whatever, with how you can be the playful one with the kids all the time and I'm not, I don't want you to not be. I don't resent you for being that. It's just I would like more of that.
No.
So I don't really think either of those words sum up the feelings that I have that would be deemed as jealous.
Okay, so
The reason I'm not sexually jealous with you, and we've had this conversation many times, is I trust you. And jealousy, to me, having suffered it when I was younger in relationships, was the most destructive, awful, unloving feeling, not only to the other person but to myself as well, that I literally made the decision that I am not going to have that in my life, and that if I am in a relationship where I'm feeling that, then that's not a good thing for me. It's a toxic thing, it's a horrible thing, and I don't want it. I want to be in a relationship where I'm not feeling jealous because I feel really secure with that person, because then I can be the person that I want to be. Because I find that jealousy is very consuming. And it's about insecurity, and it's about a lack of faith in your partner and a lack of belief in them. Now, you might see it as the fact that don't get me wrong, if we were suddenly in a situation where you were sat on somebody's lap flirting, I would be jealous.
I don't think you would. I think you'd just get cross.
No, I would be jealous. No, of course I would be jealous. If you were having...
You've often said that, let me just interrupt, you've often said though in those situations that I'm not jealous because I wouldn't be with a man if I didn't know that they wanted to be with me, etc., etc., and I understand all of that.
But you see why the word isn't right for me, because I would care. Let me put it that way then. So if I saw you flirting, really flirting, but you see, even when I see you, because you are a flirtatious person, and I see you being very flirtatious, and I mean 5,000 times a day you'll say who you've got a crush on.
Yeah, they're all male actors in Hollywood.
But I like that about you, because you being free
I
and
get
being
that,
you. And I know that if we were at a party or if we were at a dinner and you were flirting, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm stupid, but I wouldn't see anything wrong with that. I would, because I know that you'd want to go home with me. Whereas if you were flirting and I felt you go, oh no, you go, you get a cab, oh no, let's have another glass of wine, let's do this, then I would be jealous. And then if I were jealous, if you'd put me in a position where I was feeling jealous, rather than a bit like, oh, I care, oh, what's going on there, then I would be questioning who you were and what you were doing and why you were doing it and why I was left feeling in a dark, horrible place, rather than in a, oh God, I'm out with my partner and he's really attractive, she's really attractive, he's finding her really funny, and there is a big difference for me.
But all of that sounds like an incredibly emotionally controlled attitude to jealousy. I think isn't one of the defining features of jealousy is that it's an uncontrollable thing. It's something that overwhelms you. It's something that hits you. Well, and I think most people who suffer from it, or most people who experience it, the point of jealousy, or the definition for me, or the DNA within jealousy, is the idea that there is no or little preconceived idea that this is an emotion I'm choosing to feel,
Yeah.
it overwhelms you. And that's why it's something that's a bit shameful, because it's a bit like
It is
blushing.
shame.
When people blush, they don't want to blush, and it makes them blush more. It's a similar sort of thing. You get jealous, and then actually the very act of it, so whenever I felt jealous, even when I was at my worst, I knew there was a feeling of shame that went with it. There was a feeling of insufficiency. There was a feeling that I knew I was about to step over boundaries, but I couldn't help myself because there was a sort of compulsion. No, so there was a compulsion to feel that. Now, I do think that many relationships, unfortunately, become slightly defined by
Fueled,
but also there becomes a bit of what I call maybe a sort of corrupt currency, or a slightly corrupted currency within a relationship, where it becomes the only way in which to elicit interest from each other is by generating elements of jealousy. I mean, and in that sense, I think when I look back at our relationship and I think of, the awfulness that I know you went through and I went through, principally actually after I stopped drinking, because when I stopped drinking...
It was pretty bad when you were drinking.
No, it was pretty bad when I was drinking, absolutely. But in a weird way, here's the weird thing, and I don't think I've ever said this before. I always had a sense that I could battle off or fend off the jealous feelings I had about what I feared you might do by being able to drink and potentially do whatever I wanted to, if I needed to, as a sort of as a safety valve. Okay, well, if she was to do anything with me, I've got the confidence, through alcohol, to go out and do the same thing. I could match her like for like. I mean, already I was thinking in a sort of, I can be vengeful in my potential actions if she were to ever hurt me. I have alcohol to fuel me to be able to do that, because actually I can't naturally do those.
Well, an alcoholic does that in many different ways. Don't create a row, do anything so that you can storm off and have a drink.
So when the alcohol was removed, it took me all those years that it took to try and I still fight with it on occasion still now. It took me all that time to rationalise the idea that I would never have anything to protect me from the fears of something happening. So you could go out and get drunk and do this, and something might happen, and you could be flirtatious and not even think that you were being flirtatious, not even on your radar as having been flirtatious, but everyone sees you, and and I think, oh God, what if a friend says, God, you were really flirtatious with that person? And I'm sitting there thinking, what does that mean? Who was she flirtatious with? But that's just all the vicissitudes of just drinking. That's what happens with drinking. When I had that removed from my life, I felt really even more vulnerable than I did with the idea that, well, fuck it, I could just go out tonight and get drunk with my friends, and I could wrongly...
You'd have payback.
Exactly, I could wrongly
You had an arsenal of weapons.
Absolutely. So, and that, and I was thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking, that's why I doubled down on jealousy. That's why jealousy, in a sense, was, of course, I'm not pretending it wasn't. It was bad when I was drinking, but it got so much worse and corrosive and like an addiction. I think jealousy can become like an addiction because the feeling, and I don't know if other people relate to this, the feeling can become, it's a hormonal hit.
Well, you get a huge buzz of adrenaline and cortisol when you're jealous.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have absolutely no doubt that you cross-addicted to it after. And guys, just to say, because I know often when the alcoholism comes up in our discussions, and people often have the feeling, I've read the comments, that I'm bringing it up to have a go at Mark. I'm really not.
No,
I'm really not.
You can't not talk about it.
If you have understanding of alcoholism is so much bigger than just somebody drinking or not drinking. It just affects so much.
Well, it affects everything.
And the thing is, Mark knows that I have huge understanding of it and huge sympathy of being saddled with the disease, because it is a disease, and all that's come from it. And we work really hard around it. So when you came out of the Priory, and you obviously you weren't drinking brilliantly. How many years? Let's just say it one more time.
Well, it's going to be 16 this October. 16
years without a drink. Wow, bloody hell!
I keep getting it wrong. I keep jumping in. It's 15 years. This
I
October.
couldn't do 15 months, so bloody hats off to you. But when you came out, and you might have heard of this before, folks, that when people give up one drug, they cross over to another drug. It could be shopping, running, eating, whatever. And you went through shopping, starving, you went really, really thin, you went really anorexic, actually, and jealousy. And it became completely intolerable, the level of your jealousy, didn't, because I couldn't say anything without watching your eyes, and I would know what was going on in your brain, and I could see that you were just trying to compute everything and work out what that meant. It's also because you've got a ferocious intellect, so you are somebody that never lets anything go. You think about everything to the nth degree, so why wouldn't you, our relationship, you know, you'll think about, everything and anything, you take it to the end. If there's one question, you'll ask 5,000 questions. So it's just in your nature anyway. But I would go so far as to say that the single most damaging thing in our relationship, way, 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 way above the drinking, is the jealousy, was the jealousy. And it's a shadow, and it hangs over us all the time. You've done so much work on it, and you are, oh my God, I mean, just a million times better. But, you know, like the famous Princess Diana, there's 3 people in this marriage. It's like there's 3 people in this marriage. And it is this shadow, this other person. I can almost see it. It's analogous to another person.
What do you mean? He's still there now?
Like there, I could almost conjure up the
What, so he's as present now as he was then?
No, it's because we're talking about it. No, he's not as present.
Oh, I see, right now
because
he's
every
there.
single thing, it's because we're talking about it. It's a really difficult thing, actually, to talk about. And it makes me quite emotional.
Sorry.
It makes me quite emotional because I think... we've got an amazing relationship, but I think it damaged our relationship, damaged how I can be with you and who I can be with you massively. Massively. Like, when you're sitting there talking about, and I know where you're going, when you're talking about the frisson of jealousy within a relationship, the frisson that can create passion and all of that stuff, it's not an option for us. It is taken out. There's that option taken out. There's the option taken out of a few drinks and the frisson of that and the little of danger. There is no game to be had around it because it's a viper's nest of poison that we don't get to play that game. To the point where I can't even flirt with you. To the point where if I'm coming into a place to meet you, I see pain go across your eyes, literally. You'll go, and then you'll go, and you feel nervous when you see me, and then I feel nervous, and then I feel a bit awkward. And you'll often say, won't you, when we're out on a date together, you say, I'm sorry, I just feel really awkward, I feel a bit embarrassed of it, which in one way is lovely, because we've been together 16 years, and that's lovely. But it's because you're put on edge by me somehow, by my energy. You feel... Like everyone at work, we often talk about flirting on Loose Women, and you say, oh, Nadia flirts with everybody, but she's the least likely person to ever step into anything with anybody, because it's not sexual flirtation. It's the way that I communicate with people, and that is completely dampened around you. So say I might say, you know, I'm very postcard humour, and I might say something off the cuff. I've always got a third person in my head, not because I'm scared of you, don't get me wrong, this isn't about a fear thing, this isn't about control, this isn't about, coercive control, it's not that. It's because I know, and because I really, really love you, I know that it hurts you. It's like a thorn going into your flesh, and you've learned through counselling and through everything that you just have to not say this shit, because it's not fair, and you know it's ridiculous, and you know that I'm not the unfaithful type and all of that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt you in the same way, because it does, and I see it and I know it. So now when I go out, you don't say to me, oh, where are you going, what time are you coming back, and all that stuff that you couldn't, because we would have so many arguments, wouldn't we? And I say, I'm going out, don't ask me what time I'm going to go. And every time the compulsion, and I think people listening now who have jealousy will understand this, and the people in a relationship with someone that's jealous will understand that, it comes up like a beast, and you try not to say it, and then it would come out, and then it'd be like, da-da, and then it'd be a major row. But that hasn't gone away. It's not cured. You're not cured. It's just you've made it a small, small beast so that you can control it because you love me and you knew it wasn't fair and you knew you didn't want to put it on me. But I know it still lives in you.
But that makes me feel very sad because I hear all of that. But to say that you can't flirt with me when you flirt with everyone, I feel like I'm the only person you don't flirt with.
So
because you flirt with everyone.
Response is a jealous response in itself.
No.
You're not hearing what I'm saying.
No, but you actually said it. You actually said it, though.
The most important line that you said there, you flirt with everybody else.
No, because I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that in a jealousy way. I'm saying it in the way that you've just, as you say, you are right. That is your essence. That's who you are. And it sounds like the only person in your life that you don't flirt with or are naturally flirtatious with is me. But I don't necessarily feel that. I mean, I feel that you do flirt.
Let's just break it down, because when you just said you flirt with everybody else, it's not flirt. I have a flirtatious nature.
No. I know what you mean. I understand
don't flirt. Nobody that I ever speaks to thinks they have a chance with me ever, but I have a very... I wouldn't even call it flirty. I'm just very jolly and very...
But if
we were to do the next level with you, which I have done with you, which I stopped doing 8 years ago, let's say, because every time, so say I was like, and a bit flirty with you, I would see you go, and I would see you thinking, do you do this with anybody else?
I've said for the last 8 years, as things have got better, you can really go back there and try that again, and you never do.
But that's important, isn't it?
I mean, I've got better. So here's the thing. You're a big fan of change. You're a big fan of mutability in people. You're a big fan of. I believe everyone can have And I feel it's interesting that we should have this discussion because I feel I have changed immeasurably.
You have.
And yet I don't feel there's any of the. I don't mean it in a sort of possessive way. I don't feel there's any of the concomitant sort of benefits back of it. I feel like it's harder and harder for us to find...
The benefits of it is that we didn't get divorced.
No, I get that. But then within the relationship, you're right, there is a lack of flirtation, and there is a lack of sort of romance, and there is a lack of time even. I mean, I know we often say this thing that we do spend a disproportionate amount of time together, but it's always through the lens of other people. It's always with other people. We holiday with other people. We holiday with my family. We holiday with kids. It's like most couples. It's always mediated through other people. And in terms of us, I forever feel, and I can think of places like Berlin or on those occasions, you see how much I enjoy and we enjoy that and how much we get on. So we get a little flavour of it, but we probably get that true flavour of what our relationship can be for about 2 or 3 days a year. Literally, literally. I mean, insofar as we remove all other other things.
Let's just calm down a bit.
No, but I'm just saying. So from a position of not, days a year. Insofar as I feel, that's how I feel, in terms of actually feeling like we are unfettered by any other concern. As much as any parent of children, we are so fettered by concerns all the time.
I would strongly disagree that it's 2 or 3 days a year, but if that's what you feel, that's fine. But what I would say is, I think it's very interesting because right here now, I can feel the change in the energy in the room because I said what I said.
No, because as you said it, I felt a sort
of.
I felt a residual.
Angry.
No, not angry. I felt. Again, you use words like angry, which is just so inappropriate. I felt like my solar plexus was hit. I was just like, boom. I thought, oh, that's a confirmation of something that one feels, which is, yes, she isn't as flirtatious as you'd like her to be. I acknowledge that that's a consequence of my own behaviour. There's nothing worse when you know it's your own behaviour that's caused a situation. I'm not sitting here saying you've done anything wrong. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, well, what a shitter. That's what I say. I think that's not angry.
But you know
that's
what?
Not angry.
It's
that's
as much of a...
Fucking hell.
But guess what? It's a 50-50 shitter. It's not worse for you
than but
it
I
is
feel
for
like
me.
I've done everything I can to shift things on my side. So it's like, well... As best as I'm shifting things, it's not like, again, I'm not trying to say that it's a quid pro quo equation. I shift, things get better. Emotions don't work like that. I get that. But it's like, it is a shitter when you just think, oh, right, okay, well, I suppose. Because there is no room for just normal, all right, silly jealousies anymore. If I have a moment where I get a scratch of concern or fear, you go to, understandably as well, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, you go to DEFCON 5 of this is everything as it was at the worst time. I'm sitting there thinking, hang on, has 8 years passed? Where am I allowed to just not have a... No, I'm not. And you say, no, you're not allowed to have a normal jealous reaction.
I don't want to
It's hard to not be normally jealous.
I don't want to go into the detail of how bad it was. But it was
as
bad as it can get, right? So my boundary...
No, I get that.
No, let me finish. I put in a boundary that is so rock solid, and it's exactly the same boundary about the drinking. Now, I have huge sympathy. I do not think for 1 minute you've got a bad bone in your body. You're not evil, you're not controlling, you're not violent, you're not any of these things. But you are... You would admit it. You had a lot of damage as a young,
massively,
as a child.
Massively.
So again, I don't want people to think, oh, I'm just battering you. I'm not. This comes from a place of understanding and love, but we can't help what happens and what changes the direction of our heart through marriage. And why I just like to give a bloody hats off to us, because this is very, very personal and this is very scary to talk about. But I think if we're going to talk about jealousy, we have to be really real about it, because people that are listening, that are going through a marriage, that are doing... And yes, the benefits of what you have done and how you've worked on yourself is that we are still together, we still love each other, we still have a great marriage. But I can't help the fact that scars were made. And there are scars in me from the behaviours that came from your jealousy, that I completely understand where that jealousy came from. But what can I do about the scar tissue? Okay, originally it was gnarled, big stitches, like really bad scars. It's lessened and it's lessened and it's lessened. And you know, life, and the more that I see situations where you're not jealous and where you're totally easy, or even when you're happy for me sometimes, then that's nice. And I just feel another dropping of my shoulders. But it was like this for a long time. And when you live with somebody that has jealousy issues, you do create an edit in your head, an edit of your personality. You do. It doesn't just even have to be in a sexual relationship. It can be in any relationship where you hide your light a bit because you know the light frightens somebody or makes them angry or makes them sad or makes them... It's not just with you or you just with me. We'll have other people in our lives where we have to hide the light, you know. And I did have to hide the light. Don't come in and be happy from a day out. Don't say that you're excited about going out tonight. Don't be happy about this, because it will cause Mark pain. Not, I'm scared of you. I was never scared of you, but I knew that it made you hurt. And when I was really young and in my first relationship, I remember that pain of that insane jealousy. And it was just like, because I'd had a different childhood, I was able to go, well, that was just stupid, you were just da-da-da, and I was able to stop that path of my life. But you didn't have the childhood I had. And so you were fueled by that. And all your relationships before, that was just your pattern.
But sometimes I feel like, I hear you and I totally understand. I mean, I have huge compassion for that, of course, and yet I can't not be me.
I don't want you to not be.
And no. I mean, I don't mean that literally. I mean, but I can't not be me insofar as when you say that. I don't know.
Should we leave this podcast?
I just no. I mean, I just feel. It just feels like I can understand everything you're saying, and have total, as I say, compassion for it. And then I just think, oh wow, okay, so I can't entirely ever expect things between us to get to the place that I feel I'm ready for them to get to now, because of everything I did or everything I was or everything I could be. And it's like saying to someone in life, spend your entire life and never lose your temper. It's an impossible request to make of anyone, because you can't you can't legislate for what's going to make you have real human. We're not algorithms. We're emotional creatures. So I can't. That's why I always struggle. And I do remember even at those kind of crunch points where it was a deal breaker. You have to vow that you. I remember thinking, well, I can't say I'll never be jealous.
I'm not saying never be jealous, because that is a part of you.
But listen to what I'm saying. So there can't be if you like, if there's a sort of normal currency of light sort of moments of jealousy in a relationship, which are what fuels a bit of flirtation, or maybe fuels a little bit of whatever and all that kind of stuff. We can't have that, and so
you can't have. It's the same way you can't have one drink, because if you want one drink, you'll have 100 drinks. If we were to play the game around jealousy is a very dangerous thing for you. Take me out of the equation. For you, it hurts you more than anything.
Oh God, I know.
It's hugely destructive to you. So when I say I have to be very careful with you, it's because I know you so well. You could be pretending like the best you think you're ever pretending, and I will see that pain and that shadow go across your eyes. And as the person that loves you most in the world, I don't want to do that to you. So I'm very, very careful and mindful. Everything I do, I put through a filter. Everything I tell you, I put it through a filter. And maybe, as I'm sitting here saying this, maybe we do need to have couples counselling just for this thing, because maybe we're both just almost like in a childlike way, desperately trying to keep this okay between us, because we know that this fucking horrible beast that is a jealousy is like a dangerous being within our relationship that could awaken and just fuck us up. And maybe I'm dealing with it in a completely crazy way. Wouldn't it be amazing if we sat with a counsellor and a counsellor said, well, you know what, Nadia, what you're doing is actually not very helpful at all to the situation, because I'm sure it's not. I don't know. I'm just doing what my instinct tells me to do, which is just be really careful so that I don't upset the balance. And maybe a counsellor could say to us, I'm quite excited about the thought of this, listen, let's just work through this. You've done amazingly, the pair of you, that you've survived this. Mark has done all this work on himself and feels very, very differently about this. He wouldn't respond in the way that he might have in the future, and Let's see how we can move forward, and that you can find a place with each other where there can be occasional wild abandon, where you're not self-conscious about, what, or eggshelly around your relationship and what you can say and what you can't say.
Well, I mean,
maybe we need help with that.
I mean, the difficulty with wild abandon is this is when, unfortunately, the whole issue of sobriety and all that, it's very hard to have wild abandon when you're sober.
I don't think that's true at all. I have wild abandon loads of times without having a drink.
No, I know, but
that's
I'm talking about.
That's you locked in. You are. It's because of your low self-esteem. You think you can't. You can be. Listen. When you're crazy around the house, and people will see it in the vlogs. Are you kidding me?
No,
You're the best fun in the room.
No,
hang on a minute. You can dance like a nutter. You can make 100 people laugh their bloody heads off. You are the force of nature and the energy and the fun and everything in this family. Don't you say that?
I'm talking about the wild abandon we're talking about with each other. I'm not talking about the ability
why can't what you do here, what you do with the family, what you do in the group, the reason you can't do that with me on my own is because of this.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's because I know you find it wearing after a while. I do think you can't ignore the fact that we've been together for 16 years. And what I would like from the relationship, sometimes is the wild abandon around all the other stuff that we rarely talk about on this. But wild abandon. I understand why.
Wild abandon in that area doesn't just come.
No, I know it doesn't just come.
If there's a lot of this.
No, I know, but there isn't that. That's my point.
World.
But for so many years now, I would have said if you are a bit more wild abandon, you'd discover there isn't that there, but because it doesn't happen or get tested, you don't get to see the evidence that there isn't a sort of stiffness to it. I understand where that came from, and you've often told me that, and I hear that, and I've thought about that, and I've listened to that, which is why I sometimes think, well, it's never gonna happen. Sometimes
Maybe we need to. Maybe I mean, this is really good conversation. It's painful, but maybe we should get some. See, if we went to couples counselling, that'd be such a different thing, wouldn't it, to how when we've gone before? Because we've always gone in a state of fire. Let me just finish. In a state of fire and brimstone, haven't we? Like, God, we're just about to leave each other. We fucking hate each other. But if we were to go this time, we'd be going, no, we're not. We've done brilliantly with our marriage. We've worked through so much stuff, and we're really proud of it.
I disagree entirely. I think ironically, I think we went in those conditions and it saved us. We'd go in the situation where we think we're fine and discover we're deeply unhappy. Possibly. It might be that flip round. That's what I'm saying, is that you go in a place...
What a terrible thing to say.
No, but I don't mean that. I mean that's like sometimes when it's usually the opposite of... If we were to go in now because we're seemingly all right, maybe it's because there's residual issues that really need ironing out.
Do you really think that there is a marriage on the planet where there isn't residual stuff going on?
No,
I mean,
no.
Are you
But
on
this,
Proud
I suppose
Cookie
what I'm
Land?
saying is the jealousy residual stuff. I
Mr.
accept.
Perfectionist, Mr.
8 years
Perfectionist.
8 years later, it's like, how can we? And I hear what you're saying. It's not like I'm saying just sort your shit out and let's all get bloody easy with it. I get that it's not that easy, but it's like, there are times, all I'm saying, and sorry guys, we were going to talk about your comments, but the time has run away with us. We'll have to do another one about your comments. But there are times where I do think to myself, well, I don't know, and it's not like a literally measured yardstick, because live life isn't like that. I don't feel like, I'm plodding along and I don't feel like that. But sometimes I will stop and look up and check the situation and think, oh right, okay, well I'm not actually, and I tell you what's lovely as a once jealous person is I think I'm not actually feeling it. I'm not actually feeling it.
Come a long
now,
way.
sometimes I ask myself, am I not actually feeling it? And this was something
I don't care anymore.
Well, no.
But that's the fuck up of jealousy.
No, but I ask myself that not because I don't care I don't care for you, but I realise what futile energy it was. If it's going to make the person I love unhappy and me unhappy and get us on balance nowhere, what is the point of it? Now, if only that could be applied in all areas all the time, so I didn't feel a little slice of jealousy or a slice of jealousy there, that would be delicious to be able to get to that place. But that ain't going to happen, and I try and manage those moments as best as I can. But there are times where I think, well, the great big hunks of jealousy, all that stuff is far, far better than it's ever been. And I still look at you and I still see you, you're right, hesitant around certain things. And I think, oh, crikey, I've fucked this good and proper. And I can't change it. And that breaks my heart for you and for me.
I would disagree that you fucked it good and proper, because if you'd fucked it good and proper, when we wouldn't be together. So I actually take umbrage with that.
No, I didn't.
Because
I
I
didn't
think
mean
we've
that
done.
horribly,
I think
though.
we've. I don't think you meant it horribly. I don't think your intention was. But I think that you are being dismissive of what we are and how hard we worked through a really difficult.
I didn't articulate myself properly. Sorry.
I think we worked through a really, really difficult time in our marriage. I think that, I've got as many fuck ups as you, different fuck ups, and not as obvious ones, but we've worked through it. You have to put up with a whole load of stuff about me. I put up with a whole load of stuff about you. We'll continue to do that till the day that we die. And I think to think that if we look into detail of things of the residual, because look at it, it's under there bubbling. Grrr. We were supposed to be talking about the comments, but there it is. Ooh, the beast is there bubbling underneath us. To say, if we look at that in any detail, if we take the risk of going to a counsellor and talking about that in any detail, that could be the end of us. I don't like that.
I was being gallows humour about that.
But you weren't being humorous.
No, I was. I don't necessarily.
No.
But hang on. That's exactly what we're doing here. I genuinely was being gallows humour about that. I was saying I'm such a fatalist. It wouldn't be ironic if we. Okay, that's how I was saying it. No, my point is that's kind of what we're doing now. You're absolutely right. It is about discussing it. And in terms of the point of this podcast, these conversations are real. These are real this is real shit. Jealousy literally kills people. Jealousy can can contort itself. Jealousy can kill the person that's feeling it, literally, emotionally, as well as literally, and it can sometimes, unfortunately, kill the person opposite. Now, you know, it's
a very, very dangerous thing.
It's a very dangerous thing.
And I think that, I mean, I know women very, very close to me. I know friends of mine, I don't want to obviously say who they are, who have been utterly controlled by somebody's jealousy, have been hit because of somebody's jealousy, have been hit because the other person doesn't feel that they feel enough because they're not jealous in the same way. It's a very, very dangerous, toxic thing. My greatest fear for our children is that they would end up with a very jealous person. Because it can literally finish you off.
And any jealous men out there with daughters, one of the most effective methods to make you not sort it out, because it's not that sort outable, as we've just said, it's an emotional thing that overwhelms you. It's based upon upbringing, it's based upon childhood, all that shit. But it's a real helper, is to think, what would you do if your daughter was in a relationship with someone exhibiting the jealous behaviour at the point of the jealous feelings that you're feeling? And it's a starter for 10. It hits you in the face really hard.
I used that many times with Mark when he was being completely irrational and you couldn't even see through the fog of jealousy that what you were saying was crazy or irrational. And I'd say to you, didn't I? Right, put yourself in this place. One of your daughters is standing in front of their boyfriend. You're at the door and you're hearing him talk to her like this. What would you do? And every time you were stymied, you just couldn't.
Every time.
But it helped you
massively
because you were so locked into the horror and pain. And I really do see it like that. I really do. Because you were always in more pain than I was. However horrible it was for me, you were always in more pain than I was.
Well, jealousy is a form
because I would have the feeling, I'm going to walk away from this because I'm a pretty strong bird. Do you know what I mean? I was like, if this fucking continues, I'm leaving. You couldn't leave yourself.
No,
that was
because
the thing.
And there's a compulsive. My analogy for jealousy is like looking through incredibly long binoculars with a telescopic range. They are so focused on what they're focused on. They're green because they're green with jealousy and envy, and they just keep pushing into this point like that all the time. And that focal point, whenever you did say that, was like something that made you think, hang on, objectify this and look in on this situation. That's what can't happen to the jealous person. The jealous moment is a moment of such sort of telescopic, razor-like focusing on such selfishness and such self-centeredness that as soon as you would say things like, think of this from, if you heard your daughter this being said to your daughter, you'd be like, not immediately, but it would be the kind of thing that would drag you back. It's like, I tell you what, it's just like the fucking Incredible Hulk, jealousy. It kind of overwhelms you, and you need to, and it's like,
A bit for Boris.
Bruce Banner coming, oh God, Boris. I don't know about that. Anyway, well, I think we're going to have to do another jealousy. Well, the original question was going to be something along the lines of, is a little bit of jealousy a bad thing? So many people have said it's not a bad thing. And that was interesting.
But there are people that aren't riven with it.
Absolutely.
There are people that aren't addicted to it.
No.
Can you have one glass of wine?
No, exactly. No. Yeah.
Can you have one hot cross bun?
God, why have you mentioned hot cross buns? I really want one now.
They're not here till tonight. Can you have one small bag of cheese and onion crisps?
No, there's no crisps in a packet.
So all of these things you would say no to?
No.
Can you just run once a week?
No.
You're an addictive personality.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. That was interesting, wasn't it?